This has been a glorious session of conference. We express our thanks to the Tabernacle Choir for the beautiful music they have provided this morning and to those who have spoken to us. It will now be my pleasure to address you, and following my remarks, this session will conclude with the choir singing "The Morning Breaks." The benediction will then be offered by Elder Daniel L. Johnson of the 70. The concluding session of this conference will begin at 2 o'clock this afternoon. My dear brothers and sisters, I'm humbled as I stand before you this morning. I ask for your faith and prayers in my behalf as I speak about those things which have been on my mind and which I have felt impressed to share with you. I begin by mentioning one of the most inevitable aspects of our lives here upon the earth, and that is change. At one time or another, we've all heard some form of the familiar adage, nothing is as constant as change. Throughout our lives, we must deal with change. Some changes are welcome, some are not. There are changes in our lives which are sudden, such as the unexpected passing of a loved one, an unforeseen illness, the loss of a possession we treasure. But most of the changes take place subtly and slowly. This conference marks 45 years since I was called to the quorum of the 12 apostles. As the junior member of the 12 then, I looked up to 14 exceptional men who were senior to me in the 12 and the first presidency. One by one, each of these men has returned home. When President Hinckley passed away 8 months ago, I realized that I had become the senior apostle. The changes over a period of 45 years that were incremental now seem monumental. This coming week, Sister Monson and I will celebrate our 60th wedding anniversary. As I look back to our beginnings, I realize just how much our lives have changed since then. Our beloved parents who stood beside us as we commenced our journey together have passed on. Our 3 children who filled our lives so completely for many years are grown and have families of their own. Most of our grandchildren are grown. We now have 4 great-grandchildren. Day by day, minute by minute, second by second, we went from where we were to where we are now. The lives of all of us, of course, go through similar alterations and changes. The difference between the changes in my life and the changes in yours is only in the details. Time never stands still. It must steadily march on, and with the marching come the changes. This is our one and only chance at mortal life, here and now. The longer we live, the greater is our realization that it is brief. Opportunities come, then they're gone. I believe that among the greatest lessons we're to learn in this short sojourn upon the earth are lessons that help us distinguish between what is important and what is not. I plead with you not to let those most important things pass you by as you plan for that elusive and non-existent future when you will have time to do all that you want to do. Instead, find joy in the journey now. I am what my wife Frances calls a showaholic. I thoroughly enjoy many musicals, and one of my favorites was written by the American composer Meredith Willson, and is entitled The Music Man. Professor Harold Hill, one of the principal characters in the show, voices a caution that I share with you. Says he, "You pile up enough tomorrows, and you'll find you've collected a lot of empty yesterdays." My brothers and sisters, there is no tomorrow to remember if we don't do something today. I've shared with you previously an example of this philosophy. I believe it bears repeating. Many years ago, Arthur Gordon wrote in a national magazine, and I quote, "When I was around 13 and my brother 10, Father had promised to take us to the circus. But at lunchtime, there was a phone call. Some urgent business required his attention downtown. We braced ourselves for disappointment. Then we heard him say into the phone, 'No, I won't be down. It will have to wait.' When he came back to the table, Mother smiled. 'The circus keeps coming back, you know,' she said. 'I know,' said the father, 'but childhood doesn't.'" Close quote. If you have children who are grown and gone, in all likelihood you have occasionally felt pangs of loss and the recognition that you didn't appreciate that time of life as much you should have. Of course, there's no going back, but only forward. Rather than dwelling on the past, we should make the most of today, of the here and now, doing all we can to provide pleasant memories for the future. If you're still in the process of raising children, be aware that the tiny fingerprints that show up on almost every newly cleaned surface, the toys scattered about the house, the piles and piles of laundry to be tackled, will disappear all too soon. And that you will, to your surprise, miss them profoundly. Stresses in our lives come regardless of our circumstances. We must deal with them the best we can. But we should not let them get in the way of what is most important. And what is most important almost always involves the people around us. Often we assume that they must know how much we love them, but we should never assume. We should let them know. Wrote William Shakespeare, "They do not love that do not show their love." We will never regret the kind words spoken or the affection shown. Rather, our regrets will come if such things are omitted from our relationships with those who mean the most to us. Send that note to a friend you've been neglecting. Give your child a hug. Give your parents a hug. Say, "I love you" more. Always express your thanks. Never let a problem to be solved become more important than a person to be loved. Friends move away. Children grow up. Loved ones pass on. It is so easy to take others for granted until that day when they're gone from our lives. And we're left with feelings of, what if? If only. Said author Harriet Beecher Stowe, "The bitterest tears shed over graves are for words left unsaid and deeds left undone." In the 1960s, during the Vietnam War, church member Jay Hess, an airman, was shot down over North Vietnam. For 2 years, his family had no idea whether he was dead or alive. His captors in Hanoi eventually allowed him to write home, but limited his message to less than 25 words. What would you and I say to our families if we were in the same situation, not having seen them for over 2 years and not knowing if we would ever see them again, wanting to provide something his family could recognize as having come from him, and also wanting to give them valuable counsel? Brother Hess wrote, and I quote, "These things are important: temple, marriage, mission, college, press on, set goals, write history, take pictures twice a year." Close quote. Let us relish life as we live it. Find joy in the journey and share our love with friends and family. One day, each of us will run out of tomorrows. In the book of John in the New Testament, chapter 13, verse 34, the Savior admonishes us, as I quote, "As I have loved you, love one another," close quote. Some of you may be familiar with Thornton Wilder's classic drama, Our Town. I know the sisters will be acquainted with it. If you are, you will remember the town of Grover's Corners, where the story takes place. In the play, Emily Webb dies in childbirth. And we read of the lonely grief of her young husband, George, left with their 4-year-old son. Emily does not wish to rest in peace. She wants to experience again the joys of her life. She is granted the privilege of returning to earth and reliving her 12th birthday. Oh, at first it's exciting to be young again, but the excitement wears off quickly. The day holds no joy now that Emily knows what is in store for the future. It is unbearably painful to realize how unaware she had been of the meaning and wonder of life while she was alive. Before returning to her resting place, Emily laments, "Do human beings ever realize life while they live it every minute?" Close quote. Our realization of what is most important in life goes hand in hand with gratitude for our blessings. Said one well-known author, both abundance and lack of abundance exist simultaneously in our lives as parallel realities. It is always our conscious choice which secret garden we will tend. When we choose not to focus on what is missing from our lives, but are grateful for the abundance that's present, love, health, family, friends, work, the joys of nature, and personal pursuits that bring us happiness, the wasteland of illusion falls away, and we experience heaven on earth. In the Doctrine and Covenants, section 88, verse 33, we are told, "For what doth it profit a man if a gift is bestowed upon him, and he receive not the gift? Behold, he rejoices not in that which is given unto him, neither rejoices in him who is the giver of the gift." The ancient Roman philosopher Horace admonished, "Whatever our God has blessed you with, take it with grateful hand, nor postpone your joys from year to year,